So, welcome back again. This first fast video will be about how to paint a sky, and we're gonna paint a wet into wet sky to start with. You can see the sheen on the paper there. You don't need to be too precise. We've got some borders so we can see the edges of what we're doing. Obviously, the more water we put in, the more the pigments will run. So first, wet up the paper. We'll just wet everywhere, shall we? You don't always have to wet everywhere. It's quite nice to have little flecks of white coming through. But I've already got a little mixture here. You can see it's a grey mixture. It's just three. Well, they're not strictly primary colours. They're not your standard yellow, blue and red. These are burnt umber, which we can see here. The burnt umbers. We've got some yellow ochre and a touch of ultramarine. So it's just these three here. That's all we're going to work with. So let's just pop that in. It's always best to mix up your greys. You can get warm greys and cool greys. At the moment that's quite warm. So we'll just let the paint do what it wants. We'll get in fast, we won't mess around with it too much. And then we'll add some more pigment at the moment. Let's make it a bit cooler. So we're going to put in a touch of this ultramarine. Not ultramarine, I'm talking nonsense. This is burnt umber, which will warm it up too much. I'll put some of that down in the bottom, near the horizon. And here's the ultramarine. We'll pop some of that in as well, near the top. Let's see what happens. There you go, this will blend and bleed. Don't need to be too precise with it. I'll just see what happens. And then we will pop in some of this yellow ochre and mix that up along the bottom here to get a nice warm feel, as you do in many horizons. That's it. Now, I just want to show you something with a piece of tissue that you can do. You can see here we've got quite a lot of paint as gathered, and that kind of looks a bit odd. So we'll just rest it on there and it just sucks it up, and that's it, done. I don't mind this. Normally I have my paper up tilted, so it's kind of at 30 or 45 degree angle. So that gets a lot of runs. Here it's kind of back running, but for our purposes we're just showing how to construct a sky. Now if I want to create some clouds, I can just use this tissue to take out a few of these pieces of pigment to create clouds. Now one of the things, the interesting things about clouds, if you look into the distance, they're kind of bigger the higher up you go, if you like. So this same principle of smaller coming closer. So I've just made the tissue slightly smaller now. You don't want it too round, you want it, and we can pop in some smaller clouds here, varying. And then we'll go a bit smaller still. Just pop in a few more. Not much pigment down here on this side, but you can get the idea. It's got quite a large piece there to come up to paint in this cloud. Now, let's just take out some of the pigment along the bottom, and I'll explain something to you. So you can see from the top we've got more pigment. Tonally it's darker, and as we're coming down it's getting lighter. There's still a touch of the yellow in there. Now remember the sky. If you paint a sky too dark, then everything else in your painting that follows has to be dark. Even darker. So be really, really careful not to paint your skies too dark. In fact, if you look in nature, I'll just take out this, there's a couple of hairs there. Take those out. Just careful not to flick them. If you look in nature, you'll find that the skies are really, really light in comparison to most other objects in the painting. So, a little rule there. So, quick sky. Now, once that's dry, we can go back in and I'll show you the second phase of this. So that sky will be absolutely adequate to start painting the rest of the picture. I'll show you how to build a sky up. So the paper is nice and dry now. Just test that with the back of my hand. And we're going in for another sort of grey mix of the same three colours. We've got yellow ochre, going for our ultramarine, and a touch of umber. So now we're going to design. You can see we've got the clouds in here now, and now we're going to come back in and just go dark in various places. So let's come up here. Obviously we're painting on a nice dry surface now. Now notice how I've turned the brush to the side for some of this. Now then, one of the little tricks you can do, it's not really a trick, it's quite well known, is you can just get clear water and we can soften some of these edges, and this will create the illusion of it getting lighter as it's going down. But also we can kind of leave the first wash underneath. I quite like it sometimes when things sort of join and blend and bleed. So here we can be thinking of some different cloud schemes. And just now we've got some hard edges over here, but here we'll just soften up the edges as we come down. So I'm just adding some water in here, and then we'll probably just bring some of this water down, bearing in mind that we want these clouds to get smaller as they go towards the horizon. So any dry patches we're leaving must be getting smaller, and then we'll make sure that this wet part is all the way across. So let's continue over here where we were. The thing is not to be too precise about this and just go fast and just let the paint do its own thing. Remember, cooler colours at the top are going to work well. So just touch in some of this ultramarine a bit more over here. Oh, that's nice. That should bleed in. And we'll just echo it a little bit over this side. So it's like sort of shadow colours underneath. Of course, because we've added some clear water, we're gonna get that running in and bleeding in, which is nice. This is just the tip of the brush, just dotting in. I can see that this is quite wet along here, so it's fine. Take out some of the pigment, make it a little bit wetter coming down so it's light as it comes down towards the horizon. And there we are. Now what you're getting is some of the original wash, like here. Let's just take these couple of bits out of me. Two ways to do this. Just with a dab in. Take these two little specks out. Quite annoying. There's the original grey wash. Under it we've got the white paper. Here we've got white paper, grey wash, white paper, grey wash, white paper. Wasn't designed that way, it's just the way it's worked out. But you can see specks in the specks being what was underneath. Things like hairs and things like that, you don't need to worry about them, they can just come out later. I just want to make this a bit richer up here, and sometimes in these storm clouds you're going to get quite warm colours. So over here we'll pop in some of that burnt umber, and that'll, while this is still wet, that'll just carry on bleeding and blending in, which is going to be really nice. Just dabbing in there, just to warm that up a little bit, give a bit of variation in the sky. Not too keen on the way it's forming just here on this right hand side. You see the spot of, and it's because of the way the paper is. This paper is very flat for filming purposes. As I said, it's better to have these at an angle. I could have lifted this up, I guess, underneath, raise this up, and you would have seen that going down. But we can just take out this little issue just here with a tissue. Take out the issue with a tissue. There we are. Good. Now, one final thing to do here, because I want just clear water again, back into this yellow ochre. It's actually got some of the colour, whether an umber or whichever way round. I'll just pop that in. Remember, the more water you add in, the more liquidy it's going to get. So if I start putting lots of water in here, it's going to get liquidy. But I also just want to get a touch, and hopefully this is just gonna bleed up into these other colours, just to create some warmth in this bottom part of the sky. There we go. Just take it down over the horizon there as well. And that'll be for another video, showing how to build this sky and create some foreground, which will, this white part here, this foreground is going to become some water. Taking out that patch there. And again, if I wanted to mess around and dab out some sort of clouds, I could. So it's going to get some of those nice first washes showing through. So what we have here is a mixture of hard edges and soft edges blurring together, which is a nice effect. It's a kind of stormy sky. Hopefully you picked up a few tips there. We could then dry this off and go back into it again. Famous painter, well-respected painter called Roland Hilder would do like 3 washes in lots of his skies this way. But I think that's enough for our purposes. If we wanted to build this up darker, we could, and that's about the limit when doing skies. As I said before, the darker the sky, the darker everything else has to be. So we have to be quite careful about that and make sure we plan it out. But remember, final thing before we finish is this will dry much lighter. Always dries lighter. Seems dark now, but it will dry lighter. So thanks for watching this demonstration on how to paint a 2-stage sky. Keep subscribing, keep watching my video content, and happy painting, and take care now.